Hello and welcome to ICT and today's classroom. The aim of this presentation is to look at how to select or design an effective integrated computer technology interface. My name is Sarah. I've been an impact teacher for about a year, and the reason I was asked to do this presentation is because I have had some luck with using ICT to engage some classes that can be a little bit more challenging. One of the things that we found is with the correct ICT interface, you can actually have a lot of success in engaging students who wouldn't otherwise connect with you or the material you're using. Now, of course, one of the most useful tools in using ICT is your SmartBoard. So why bother using ICT in general and the SmartBoard in particular? Well, one reason is that it adds a relevance to the students that you don't get with some traditional methods of teaching. It's hard to ignore the fact that students are very computer literate these days, and that most of their lives do revolve around using computers in one capacity or another. So when you use the SmartBoard, they actually see how these things relate to everyday use in ways that they might not in another context. And the second reason is that it actually allows you to incorporate the students themselves in your lesson and allow them to participate and interact with the lesson material itself. The first interface I'm going to be highlighting is the Cambridge Hitachi interface. Now, this is the software that comes with the Science Foundation textbook, so obviously the context is only going to be applicable if that's what your school is basing their lessons off of. But the interface itself is actually a really effective interface, so I'll be highlighting which components of it actually make it so effective in the classroom. So here we have the loading screen, and we're selecting chemistry, and atoms and elements seems like a good unit to investigate. I do apologize for that watermark down in the corner, but as we all know, working on a teacher's salary means never being able to upgrade your evaluation software. So this is one of the things that I really like about this interface is it's very light on the text and it uses a lot of graphics. Now you can expand up what you're using so you can get more detail or less detail. Up in the top corner there are tabs that go further into the subject matter that you're going to be using, and then down at the bottom what we're highlighting are the additional tools, and you can use these to mess around with it, make comments on it, get the kids to make comments on it which you can then save, highlight the aspects of it that you want them to pay close attention to or write down, and certain things like that. So here we go, highlighting elements, and once you've highlighted it goes clear so you can still see what it is that you were doing. It helps the kids to know which are the keywords that they need to keep in mind and what are the key points that they have to record in their notebooks, little things like that. So we're going to move on to the next tab, and this is one of my favorite parts of the interface. It's asking questions to go over the knowledge that we have just learned, and they're all multiple choice. I cannot stress this enough. Stay away from any interfaces that involve entering text. It can be extremely discriminatory when you're dealing with students with learning disabilities, and anything that adds to levels of complication involving the keyboard, you just want to stay away from it. It's a big mess. So once we've filled in all the answers, we can mark them, and they show up in green if they're correct. Hooray, we got 3 out of 4, and you can show the answer so that we know what the correct answer actually is. Okay, now we move on to the next question and answer interactive. This one's kind of a matching game. The kids roll the die to get the different options that go into each of the blank spaces, and then they drag and drop it using the SmartBoard pen. So it's all done by the kids. And this has lots of different applications. You could use this with a number of different things. For example, if you're doing biology, you can have pictures of animals instead of chemical symbols, and then the group that they belong to, so mammals, fish, amphibians, things like that. So this kind of interface is widely applicable, and it marks in the same way. And then this is one of my favorite components of it as well. This is the plenary game that the kids can play where they sort of counter the gremlin and see if they can get the correct answers. If they get it correct, they get a point. If they get it incorrect, the gremlin gets a point, and you have to beat the gremlin by the end of it. So really, if you ask me, I would say that the strongest advantages of the Cambridge-Hitachi interface are first that it's extremely simple. It doesn't take a lot of expertise and know-how, which makes it accessible to many different learning levels. There's a high level of graphic interface, so there's lots of pictures, it's very bright, it's very interesting, it's very eye-catching. There's not walls of text, which is something that we saw with the ABC software that the school originally had. It's very interactive, so you can get the kids up and participating in the lesson, and it doesn't have any typing involved. And once again, I cannot stress how important that is. It was something that the ABC software had, which a lot of the school boards actually favor, and it just ended up being a giant mess. Another real advantage of using the SmartBoard is the ability to access the internet to use online games as starters or plenaries. There are some fantastic online games out there, and this website has some of the best ones I found. The favorite one of all of my students was a game called All Systems Go. Now, this is the game who got the students in the very bottom set actually hanging around at lunch because they wanted to play it even more. So that is telling to the power of this game to really engage the students, and I think that the interface is actually part of that. So the idea of All Systems Go is that Arnold has lost his organs and you have to help him replace them one system at a time. His voice is one of the students' favorite things.
Please help me. I've lost all my organs. Start by finding my digestive system.
So he's asked for his digestive system, and you need to find the parts of the digestive system now and drag them into place. You don't need to be precise about where they are. Once they're over his body, they'll fall into place with a ding sound if the children have done it right. If they do it wrong and they grab the wrong organ, an alarm goes off and all the organs already in there fall out of his body. The kids found that absolutely hilarious. When you mouse over, the name of the organ shows up to help them out a little bit more, and as you go through the different systems, he has various snarky comments about what exactly it is that you've done. So a combination of the drag and drop, the pop-up highlighted organ names, the snarky comments, and the really entertaining premise are what make this such a useful interface. And last but certainly not least, we have the inexplicably popular Sunny Meadows ecosystem game. Nobody knows exactly what it is that makes the kids so obsessed with this game, but every teacher in our department found that the Year 7s, no matter which set they were in, could not get enough of this thing. So here we have the introduction to the game. It introduces what a food web is, what an ecosystem is, which animals are in this particular food chain. So we have the foxes, the rabbits, the grass. It introduces the different trophic levels, and then it starts to talk about how populations depend on one another. And this is the object of the game. So what the game allows you to do is set the initial population of foxes, rabbits, and grass, and then it simulates a 50-year time span, and it measures how the populations change over those 50 years. Now, if all three of your species manage to survive for those 50 years, the game will assign you a score out of 100. The straighter the lines are, the higher the score. So with that established, we start the game and just set them up at random. Now, one of the things that I will do once I have set the number of foxes, Pokemon like rabbits, and plants is change the game speed to 4 times. Otherwise it does go extremely slowly. And you can choose whether you view the pictures of the animals, the graph that charts their progress, or the biomass pyramids if you're doing that in your lesson. So in this one we see wild fluctuations. It gives you hints as to what you do. I've reset it to the numbers that I know actually work, and here we see a much straighter graph. The straighter the graph is, the higher the score is. I managed to get one student in my class who got a score of 96, and all the other students were in awe of him. So something about this interface and how it works and how it's visualized obsessed the students. They loved this game. So this was an extremely powerful tool as well. And here we see when we get to the end, I have a score of 91. Not too shabby.